Well, there you are, Hockenheim in Germany. The team's having to work really hard to get the best power down from their machines onto the track. But now, for the final round of the FIA drag racing in 2004, we move to the home of the sport, Santa Pod in Great Britain, which is acknowledged as the fastest track in Europe. Guys are coming in here. Some have already won the championship. Some championships are coming right the way down to the wire, but they're all going to be trying to run as quickly as they can. And coming into this, we've seen this before, where there is any one of 4 drivers could take the championship in this last round. Either Joran Pashorka, Andy Carter, Tommy Moller, or this man, Sweden's Miki Kaggerad.
If I win the first round, I think I'm okay, but I'm not sure. But if I win the first round, I'm okay, I think.
Well, he meets Tommy Moller in the first round. That could be difficult. Moller beat him in Germany, of course. Great Britain's Andy Carter. He was in exactly this position in 2001. Any one of 4 drivers, and in that year, he took the championship.
It's just a straight battle between me, Pershaka and Tommy Muller. You know, we just need to get to the final and win, and we've done it, but we need to get rid of Mickey early, all of us. So it's really, we're all ganging up on Mickey.
Oh, there you are. The finals then, ladies and gentlemen, from Santa Pod Raceway in Great Britain. And I'm joined, as always, by a very excited Darryl Bradford. This is going to be a great weekend again, Darryl.
You bet, John. As excited as I can be without being out there with the rest of them doing it again. But looking back at the first round, Joran Pashorka from Sweden, one of the championship contenders, came up against Lex Hume from Holland in the MPM car. Lex hasn't been having a great season in his rookie year in Top Fuel. Joran has. This was actually going to be Lex's afternoon. Lex left first, straight down the right-hand lane. Beautiful flames out the top of the Top Fuel dragster. He takes the win. New personal best of a 5 flat jump.
Yeah, it did very, very well indeed. And of course, that finishes Joran Pashorka's championship chances. He goes out. He was one of the top 4 that came here looking for the championship. Second pair that came out put the 2 Brits against one another. This is last year's champion, Smack Smith. He won the championship at this event in 2003, but up against the man they like to call still the bad boy, Andy Carter. But Carter's really working to a game plan here this weekend, and that's how it worked out, Darryl.
Yeah, it certainly did, John. I mean, as you can see there, Smacks pulls a huge red light. I can tell you that the incrementals for Smacks' run were absolutely fantastic. It would have been low ET of the weekend. Unfortunately, big red light on the Christmas tree and a broken blowout put the end to his day. Andy Carter on into the semi-finals with an off-pace for him at 5:14, John.
Yeah, very, very lucky on that one, Andy. But of course, the red light says it all. If you go before the green comes on, then you're out. Third pair that came out put John Webster in that silver dragster, the Canto-sponsored dragster, up against the Batmobile of Norway's Thomas Nators. Thomas Nators drives out of the same stable as Andy Carter, and suddenly things are coming together well for him.
This was the race of the day. Look at that. You cannot believe that 2 cars over a quarter mile at the finish line were separated by just over 2 inches on that one.
2.7 inches.
Fantastic hole shot for John Webster, and Thomas just nipped him. Last pair, John.
Well, yeah, indeed, and this is the critical one, Darryl, because here we've got the Pentoil car of Tommy Moller, who beat Michael Kaggerad, the orange Barco Express car, at Hockenheim. Michael is coming to this round lead in the championship. Wow, they look so very close. Suddenly, Moller's car goes up in smoke, and then there's all sorts of things happening here for Mickey Kaggerad.
Yeah, Mickey takes a real bad ride through the top end there. The left-hand tyre lets go just on the finish line. Coincidentally, I was actually in the other lane the last time he did that about 2 years ago at Santa Pod. Mickey, this time, very, very safe. Gets out of the car, as you can see there, looking at the damage. Not a pretty sight at all.
No, indeed. So let's, the crew, very, very concerned here about that run. Just watch this again. All manner of things happening here. The engine lets go. It takes out that rear slick. And at that point in time, Mickey is not in control of that car. He's really, really fighting to get that to come to a halt. Thank goodness he's perfectly okay. But doesn't it look weird without that rear slick on it? My goodness me.
Yeah, the worst thing that can actually happen to a top fuel driver, either losing the wing or losing the rear tyre, but Mickey did a fantastic job of keeping the car straight and on the racetrack, so he should be back for the semi-final.
I spun the tires very, very badly after half track, so I had to lift and took it again, and I think I did the tire there, and just on the finish line the tire was gone, so it was only to do the best job I could do to save the car.
What goes on in your mind? We do remember the crash a couple of years ago.
Yeah, but it's a little bit safer here with the wall and everything now, so I was not worried because I can steer the car and everything, so it was okay.
Well, there you are. Back goes Mickey Cagrad. They've got a lot of work to do in the pits, certainly, but this is how the semi-finals look. Mickey Cagrad comes up against Thomas Nators, and Andy Carter comes up against Lex Yohn. And of course, Darrell, the thing that everyone else was hoping was that Mickey Cagrad would go out in the first round. Hasn't happened.
It hasn't happened at all, and he's on to the semi-final. There is still a incredibly slim mathematical chance that Andy Carter can do it, but he's got to beat Lex Yohn. Lex has been on a roll this weekend. He had a great time in qualifying, ran his personal best ET, and again in the first round. So Andy's got a bit of a tough one, but he's quite used to going through this, John.
Oh, yeah, indeed. Well, Carter was the number one qualifier here this weekend.
Expectations, of course, are to win it and advance to the final, but against Lex, he's a tough racer. It's going to be a tough one. They all are.
Great round. It's obvious we have to go against Carter, and we had to run him earlier this year at the Easter, and then I lost it by 0.003 of a second, so there's a bill to be set. So yeah, great round.
Well, the man from Holland has been doing so well here this weekend, but Darrell, what are your thoughts?
Oh, the main thought is it's anybody's race. Andy's won the championship before. Lex is no slouch whatsoever, and Lex Yohn, something goes away on the car. Andy Carter having a real tough time getting down the left-hand lane. You can see there from the butterflies on top of the engine opening and closing. He wasn't on it all the way through the racetrack, but fortunately for him, Lex had a problem. He's into the final with an off-pace 5:33.
So that is even one more step closer to the championship now.
Yep, just taking out Lex, so we're in the final. We need to win the final to take the European Championship, and I'll tell you, we're going to do it, Krista.
Oh, there you are. He told me that, can I tell you, in February of 2004, that he was back in the fray and was going to be taking the championship this year.
He hasn't got any tips on the National Lottery for us, as well as he by any chance.
I would hope he would have. Well, this is the other side of the ladder then. The man who is still there in the lead in the championship. Sweden's Michael Cagrad against Norway's Thomas Nators.
Okay, Mickey, going into the semis now. How are you feeling?
It's really interesting. The championship is still open, and exciting. It's going to be a really tough semi-final, that's for sure.
Okay, Thomas in the semis up against Mickey. Are you feeling confident?
Yeah, I think so. The car has been running pretty good all weekend, though we haven't got the best times that we wanted to, but it's running good. It's running down the track every time, so, but he can run fast, so we'll see.
Yeah, Thomas has had a fantastically consistent weekend. He's actually the team car for Andy Carter, whereas Mickey Cagrad, all of Knut Söderqvist's cars are gone already, John.
Yeah, indeed. Well, this, again, is so critical. Coming into this semi-final, Mickey Cagrad's crew were actually working on this car coming down the pit lane. And it's all gone wrong. There are bits falling off of Mickey's car. Thomas Nators takes the win. A 5-0-0 for the Runa Field stable. And what that means is that the two cars in the final are from the same stable.
Yeah, well, that's going to make a huge difference because there's no Knut Söderqvist car in the other lane trying to take out Andy Carter. What a weekend for Thomas Nators. He's in his first ever final.
Thomas, your first Top Fuel final now.
That feels great. It was a good run also, so we beat Mickey all the way from the starting line with both reaction time, I think, and all the way down, so it was a good run.
Well, this is it then. This is the big moment now for Andy Carter. If he can drive around Thomas Nators, he will be the 2004 champion. Is it going to happen? We're just about to find out. As I said, both of the cars, Darrell, are from Runa Field stable. I wonder, is there such a thing as team orders?
That's not going to happen here, John. Both of these guys want to race. They both, even though they're from the same team, both these guys fun the cars themselves. Both these cars are real hard racers, and Andy Carter wouldn't want to win the championship any other way than by winning it.
Well, I tell you what, there is a huge crowd here at Santa Pod to see this final. It is going to be electric.
No, it's not too bad. It's a tough one, but we must beat Thomas to win the championship. Basically, that's it. We just must win this one and hold on to low ET and beat the rain.
Oh, not too much to ask then. Good job he's not under any pressure at all.
I still want the National Lottery numbers off him. I think he's got to have something going for him. This final is so crucial. These guys have raced round Europe for the last 6 months. Every single thing they have done is working towards this moment. I feel for Mickey Kagarad. The poor guy's watching this from the sidelines. If the car in the right-hand lane wins, the Go Talk Top Fuel car, he loses the championship. If the car in the left-hand lane wins, he's probably going to buy Thomas the biggest bottle of whiskey he's ever had.
Yeah, indeed, and that's exactly how it works here. So they come up to the start line then. These two 6,000 horsepower machines, they need to cut a good light to get away, and it is Andy Carter who gets away in front of Norway's Thomas the Top, and that's how it stands right to the very, very end. Well, there you are. There's Andy's super crew. And Runefield, who owns both of the cars anyway, he won't be feeling too bad. One of his drivers is the champ for 2004.
Thank you. European champion 2001 and 2004. First person to do it twice.
And once again, it all came down to the very last run for the season.
Yep, all down to that last run. Everything had to fall in place. It did. But, you know, the super crew have worked hard all year. Eddie Core, Runefield, Go Talk, Wins, Lucas, NGK. You know, it's a great big team effort in this. I just get the good bit, sit in the car and drive it. But I mean, it was a hell of a nervy weekend. I feel relieved now, totally relieved and drained, mentally drained.
I'll tell you what, Darryl, what a great year it's been.
You bet, John. You cannot get better Top Fuel Championship drag racing than that. Down to the last race of the last event at the end of the season. After 6 months of touring around Europe, it came down to that. Andy Carter and the Go Talk team wearing the big number one in 2005. Repeats after 2001, the first person to ever win it twice. Mickey Kagarad, a heartbreaking few points behind, John.
Yeah, indeed. So very, very close, but so far. Well, that's it. Top Fuel for 2004. The champion, Andy Carter.
Andy Carter, number one, and the super crew. Yeah, man!
Next up, Stock Car. And poor Michael now knows the championship has gone. He's been the champion for the last 2 seasons. It isn't going to happen for him this year. But this man, Jimmy Oland, with that blue and white Firebird, really hasn't put a foot wrong in 2004. The only time he's lost a race was at the first round of the championship, the main event at Santa Pod, and that was to Michael Malmgren. Let's get over into the pits and talk to the man who's the 2004 champion.
We always try to win the event. That's the main goal, and to do that this weekend seems really hard because we hurt the number one engine when we warmed it up yesterday.
It's the finals. We're here at Santa Pod. We were here back in May for the main event. This is the finals weekend, and I'm amazed that they're still, Darryl, thinking of battling it out, despite the fact that Jimmy Oland is the champion.
There's some huge old gaps in the points, but, you know, they never give up. They're real races, and they've travelled all over Europe to try and earn points to do well. And Santa Pod's no different this weekend, so huge crowd for the last round of the championship. And as we look back at the first round, Magnus Hansen in the black and silver Firebird that John absolutely loved.
I do. Think great paint scheme that car.
Oh, you bet. Up against
Tommy Linder.
That's the guy.
Tommy Linder in the X. And the thing that was confusing, because it's the ex-Michael Malmgren Camaro.
And it's still painted the same, just to confuse everybody even more. But Magnus Hansen had really high hopes for this year. And unfortunately, it really hadn't gone his way until then. 7-12 to 7-16 over Tommy Lindahl moved him into the semi-finals.
Well, indeed, he's not actually in the top 5, you know, Magnus Hansen. I expected him to be in at least the top 3, but the second pair came out, and this put the preceding 2 years champion, the AC Delco Grand Am of Michael Malmgren, up against the man in the opposing lane, Ulf Jonsson. And Jonsson is getting better and better in this ex-Jari Connolly Dodge.
And as you can see there, Ulf Jonsson left Michael Malmgren for dead on the starting line. The reason I'm talking like this, if you were an ant on the finish line, you could have not put a cigarette paper between those two. The difference at the finish line was 0.26 of an inch.
Incredible.
Absolutely unbelievable. How on earth anyone can tell the difference between those two? But Ulf Jonsson into the semi-finals. That's going to make the team happy.
Well, of course, we had to take the timing equipment down to 6 decimal places to separate those two. Absolutely phenomenal. We've seen such close racing here this weekend. Right, next pair that came out, Kenneth Soderstrom against Jackie Hansen. We were talking to Jackie Hansen just now. He is looking to move up into the number 2 spot in the championship. Malmgren's already gone out. Soderstrom gets away first. Now then, let's see what happened here. This was quite extraordinary. Soderstrom took a great win over Jackie Hansen, a 7.11 to a 7.09. It was one on the start line, and all those hopes from Jackie Hansen of moving up into the number 2 spot evaporate along with that loss.
Yeah. Last guy out on the track. This is the Jimmy Oland Pro Stock Show, as he has been throughout the whole of 2004. Virtually unstoppable, #1 qualifier. Now, just a quick mention that the Pro Stock cars weren't on their normal times over the weekend. A 7.01 still a pretty stout run. The track was in great shape, but unfortunately there was a very, very strong headwind, which held them back on their ETs and speeds a little bit.
Yeah, it did, but this is how it looks. Ulf Jonsson against Kenneth Soderstrom, and Jimmy Oland against Magnus Hansen. But it's to the Kenneth Soderstrom, Ulf Jonsson race that we go. Firebird against Dodge Avenger. And of course, Darryl, these cars have to be within strict parameters to come out and run in Pro Stock. 500 cubic inch engine.
And body styles within very, very strict manufacturer's parameters, hence the phrase Pro Stock. Here's Ulf Jonsson.
That feels real good. It's the first year in Pro Stock, and this is the first win I took, so it feels good.
Well, I tell you what, he's a big guy, isn't he? They must do a bit of shoehorning to get him into this car. Kenneth Soderstrom has been doing very well this weekend, and indeed, for these two, this could be quite a surprising race for them, Darryl.
It's going to be a great race. One of these guys is going to go to their first final in FIA Pro Stock. They both won the previous rounds on hole shots. Now, I know that coming into this race, Ulf Jonsson's had a little bit of trouble with the engine, and both off the sideline together, Kenneth Soderstrom leaves him for dead and then goes terribly out of shape. Oh, dearie me. You don't often see a Pro Stock car crash like that. The crew not looking very happy at all. Nice big bit of flame out the front of the Firebird there. But,
well, that would have been the fuel tank letting go as he hit the wall.
Heavens.
But a huge turn to the right and then maybe overcorrection. Just watch this again, Darryl. Look at this. Look, straight into the wall. And then, of course, at that point in time, Kenneth Soderstrom is not in control of the car. The car is in control of Kenneth. And, of course, the man in the opposing lane, Ulf Jonsson, has to drive round him.
Well, I think Ulf Jonsson was already driving round him anyway. After Kenneth hit the wall, it scrubbed off a lot of speed. But the best thing and the best news is Kenneth Soderstrom was A-OK, just getting into the ambulance there to be checked out.
I was behind Söderström, and I saw he was really loose, and he went into the left-hand wall to start with. And I saw he was coming over my side, but I got by just before him.
Well, there you are. That's one way to make a final. Ulf Jonsson, big guy, through, and he's going to be meeting one of these two, the champion for 2004, Jimmy Oland, coming up against the man who is desperate to get improvement in his racing, Magnus Hansen. I'll tell you what we do. Let's go into the pits just before this race and have a word with Magnus.
Jimmy is very hard to beat, fast car and a good driver, and we have had a lot of problems this summer, so we're quite pleased we could win the first round. But we will do our best. We are trying to get the car to run a little bit faster, and then I have to take him on the tree.
You must be feeling quite confident.
Yeah, I would if the car would work the way it should, though. But you see, we have clutch problems, so we're not running the numbers we are supposed to. But so far it's been enough, but against Magnus here we need to put some better numbers because he's a good driver, so anything can happen.
Well, it is to the tree, Darryl, isn't it, of course, where they go.
You know, you can always tell a real racer that even when they're out in front, he's won the championship already, he's run quicker than he was, he's still not happy with the way the car's running, because he's not running perfectly. So both these guys, very, very good drivers. Both of these cars, 6-second cars, and Jimmy Oland takes the lead off the starting line by 0.05 of a second. Magnus Hansen has a bit of a wobble there, and hey, guess what? Jimmy Oland into the final.
Yeah, indeed, 7.01, and he must be feeling very happy with that.
Once again, another final for you, but this time another opponent.
Yeah, that's really nice because I like that Ulf is in the final. It's really fun to have one of the guys that has never survived the first round before, and I'm really happy for him that he's in the final, and that's going to be fun. Everybody needs, you know, success to keep going in this class, so I'm really happy for him.
Well, there you are. He talks now just like the consummate professional, doesn't he? Encouraging other people to do well.
And drives like one, and races like one, and wins like one. There is hardly a chink in his armour, I think, this year, is there, really? So, first time final for Ulf Johnson. He's got to be so happy. The car owner, Michael Sjöquist, first year that they've really made a move with this car, their first ever trip to Sanopod, they've got to be so happy, and they get to take their shot against Jimmy. Let's hear from a very happy Ulf.
Now we get hang of the car, so we think we have a clutch that is perfect setup for this track. It's a little bit poor traction, but I think the car is a good setup for it. So I'm confident. We run it just as fast as he do.
We always run a race to win, so we're going to do everything we can to win. But that's a good guys we're going to race against. So, and he's really good on the starting line. He proved that already once today. So I don't want him to prove that another time. So, and I also think it's really fun that they are in the final. I mean, it's their first full season, and they are doing really great.
Well, that could have been his theme song from 2003. It was his first season. And here he is in 2004, already the champion. It's General Motors against Mopar, the Dodge in the opposing lane. This blue and white Firebird is looking for a win, despite the fact he's already got the championship sewn up, and he gets away first. We haven't seen a 6-second run in the eliminations here this weekend, but we get it now. He takes the win. Hey, Darrell, he stepped up big time to take that.
And if anybody was going to do it, Jimmy the Man Oland was going to do it as well. 6.97 to a 7.12.
What a season.
Yeah, I can't believe it in words. It's just incredible. I mean, we seem to be doing everything right. And even this weekend we didn't do it. But at last in the final we finally did something that was right. And we was #1 qualifier anyway, and we also won it. So I can't find words. It's tremendous.
Well, there you are. Jimmy Oland takes the win. Michael Malmgren second still. Jackie Hansen finishes in third spot. And once again, Darrell, great racing.
Pro Stock is the closest of all the classes. Like I said, a win margin of 0.2 of an inch. You cannot get any closer racing than that. Absolutely fantastic. Join us again in 2005 for more close Pro Stock action.
Next, it's Top Methanol Funny Car. And Urs Urbacher now looking forward to a second championship in 2004. He was the champ last year. His thoughts obviously are going to be on defeating absolutely everybody. But when you're a star in drag racing, let me tell you, it doesn't stop you doing all the hard work. Urs Urbacher, a formidable crew behind him, still gets his hands dirty.
You are leading the championship, but not with much.
Yes, it's a really tough battle this weekend, I think. So we need to win the race, or we need to runner-up the race and have the low ET of the meeting. Then we are champion on the second place. But it's really tough and it's really close. Ulf is really fast.
Well, coming into this round, Urs Urbacher is only leading Ulf Leanders by 17 points. Now already, Urs Urbacher has increased his lead by being the #1 qualifier. Basically, this means the Leanders brothers have got to try that little bit harder. Let's get across to Ulf Leanders for his thoughts on this finals weekend.
It's pretty close between Urbacher team and us. Before this race it was 17 points, and that is less than one round. So it's pretty good.
Isn't it close? My goodness me. It's the finals weekend. We're here at Sanopod with the Top Methanol Funny Cars, and it can't get much closer than this, Darrell.
I don't think it can, John. I mean, these guys run all around Europe. They spend thousands and thousands of pounds and so many man hours. You couldn't count it on, you must count it in millions of man hours. But looking back at the first round, very, very crucial. Every single race today was very, very crucial. Leif Andreasen, previous champion, really not having the best of weekends, coming up against #1 qualifier Urs Urbacher here, and Leif's bad weekend continues, John.
Well, that bumpy ride down the left-hand lane for Leif Andreasen, but a great run from Urs Urbacher in the 5.7s again, a 5.71. and 248 miles per hour. Wow, that increases the chances of Urs Urbacher being the champion in 2004. This was the next pair to come out. Arvid Grodem, here he is, and this man, Ulf Leanders.
Yeah, I just want to make a mention about how much work Arvid Grodem's crew put in to get here. They completely demolished 2 motors and a supercharger on this car between Sweden and Norway. How they got the car back in one piece, I'll never know. Took a lot of effort and probably even more money, but unfortunately Arvid's weekend at Sanapol is going to come to a premature end. God, Ulf Leanders, straight down the right-hand lane, straight after Urs, runs down there with a 5.76. Now this is very, very crucial because he needs to win the event and set low ET. At the moment he's a few hundredths of a second behind Urs.
Well, here's our third pair that came out in this quarter-final round, and the Boxster car of Denmark's Dan Larsen coming up against Sweden's Nicholas Andersson, and Nicholas is starting doing so well now in 2004. If you remember, Nicholas was a pro stock car driver, made the change of seat into the top methanol funny car once Mickey Kagrad had got out. Dan Larsen hadn't been having such a good year in 2004. He finished very well in 2003, and again it wasn't going to be his race here in the quarterfinals. Nicholas Andersson moves on into the next round where he meets Ulf Leanders.
Yeah, terrific hole shot there as well, and as you can see, 5.97 to 5.90, tremendous racing again.
Well, this is how the semi-finals look. Urs Urbacher, hey, looking for that championship, has got to buy into the final, and he's leaving Ulf Leanders and Nicholas Andersson to duke it out for a place in that final. And of course Leanders is the man who is within coughing distance of Urbacher to take the championship from him. So he's coming out here now. We're at semi-final stage. This is Urs Urbacher, and he needs to run the low ET of the meeting, which I think is him at the moment, Darryl.
He's already got low ET of the event. He just doesn't want Ulf taking it away from him. He's into the final, so he's actually got his first goal, which is to get there. Even if Ulf gets to the final and beats him and he has low ET, then he's still going to win the championship. But
is lane choice here critical? We've watched that throughout the season. Are the guys looking for lane choice here?
I don't think it's lane choice so much here because both lanes are very, very even. It's more the ET. Like I said, it's more the elapsed time. Whoever gets the lowest ET is going to be in a much better position. Obviously, Urs's team there stepped up the car to see what the track would take and shook the tyres, so they know not to do that again in the final.
Yeah.
But he's in the final and he's accomplished his major goal for the weekend, I think.
Yeah, not a particularly good run from the big guy, though. 7.77. Let's have a few words from him on being in the final.
So it all comes down to the very last run for the season.
Yeah, that's we're thinking also is we can meet Ulf in the finals, and now it's so it's okay.
Well, here we are then. He's going to be meeting one of these two in the final. This is Nicholas Andersson going with the burnout, the Sandflex sponsored car. And in the opposing lane, Ulf Leanders, the man who is within striking distance of Urs Urbacher. And of course what the crew are looking for here is for their driver to run the quickest time of the weekend.
Yeah, forgetting the fact he's got the small task of beating Nicholas Andersson in there as well. I mean, Nicholas Andersson's no slouch. He won the FIA race up in Alastaro in Finland, and he does run very quick into the 580s, so this is going to be no easy task by any means for Ulf Leanders. Let's see what he thinks.
It feels very, very good. The car performed very good. We ran 5.76, and I think that is very good. We had a lot of problems yesterday in qualifying. We had a blower bang and a lot of problems. Now it feels very good to go to the semi-finals. We had a little leak on a couple of valves, but that is no problem. We're going to put this together, and we're going to go out there and give Nicholas a good race.
Well, these cars always provide great racing. I've liked these. I mean, when you think that I've been around the sport now, for 25 years, and always top methanol funny cars, top methanol dragsters have always been so exciting. So here we go, up to the start line. Such a critical race so late on in the season. This is all eyes on this Ironclad car, and they're almost together away from the start line, Darryl.
Yeah, neck and neck, all bouncing all over his lane there. Takes the win by a car length. He's got the most important thing. He's into the final. Did he get the elapsed time he needed, though? That's the other thing. 580 to 586. He's in the final, but he needs to run quicker.
We have a little bit of problem though. Urs have now the low ET of event, and I think he's currently something about 22 points ahead of us. So what we need to do basically is to go, of course, win against him and go faster than 571. That's what we have to do to win the championship.
Well, here we are, right down to the wire then, ladies and gentlemen. The final of Top Methanol Funny Car. Ulf Leanders and Urs Urbacher to fight it out to see who is the champ. Now, don't forget, if Urs Urbacher wins this race, he is automatically the champion. If Ulf Leanders wins this race, he's got to win it, setting low ET of the weekend in Top Methanol Funny Car. No easy task.
If anybody can do it, though, Ulf can. Him and his brother ran 5.66 on this racetrack last year, so they'll be keeping their fingers, toes, legs, eyes, everything crossed to make sure that the car runs that quick as well. And knowing them, there's no way that there's going to be a soft tune-up got in the car for this run. They can't do it. They have to run quicker than 5.71, so all comes down to this. Switzerland against Sweden, Ulf against Urs, as it has been all season. It's just been fantastic, don't you think?
Yeah, absolutely. And of course, all of Urs Urbacher's crew have dyed their hair to match the colour of the race car, just to really mix in with the colour scheme of the Midland sponsors. Well, great stuff. Here we are then, the all-critical up to the start line. This is where the butterflies in the tummy must really be getting to both of these guys. Either one could become champion out of this race. Start line reaction is going to be so important here. That's Ulf's brother Jorgen, just taps the bonnet there, all part of the routine they go through. Darryl, it could be anybody's.
Well, these guys have almost matched each other for elapsed time all weekend. Everything is on the starting line. Everything is on the quarter mile. Who's going to take it? The final race in Top Methanol Funny Car 2004. Ulf's out in the lead. He's going to take the win, but does he get the time and the title? Oh, you can tell by the crew's face. They won the battle, but I guess from that they lost the war.
Yeah,
they lost
indeed.
the war. 5.75, still a fantastically stout run, but those guys there with the red hair, they're the winners.
Congratulations, Urs.
Thank you very much. We win the championship again the second time with a brand new setup. It was really nice. I lose the final against Ulf, but Ulf was better. We shaking really high and the car goes sideways. I pedaling 2 times. It was really close. A little bit more and happened. But it's okay. We win the championship. That's important.
Well, there you are. He took the win by just 2 points. So close. That's what it's all about in Top Methanol Funny Car.
Yep, you can't get any better championship racing than the race comes down to the last race at the last event of the year.
Coming up, it's Top Methanol Dragster. So for the second time, Wilson is the champion, the 2004 champion. A great team behind him, up-to-the-minute technology with his race car. And he is now here at Santopod for the final round, and he wants to go out on a high by taking the win this weekend.
Oh, it's great fun. I mean, to have 3 cars as close as we are, you know, makes it a really good competition every weekend.
Well, the man who did so well at Hockenheim is the Netcall Telecom man, Rob Turner. Family team with that huge fire behind them at Santopod, which happened at the main event, the first round of the FIA Championship. For this year, he'll end up in the number 3 spot.
It's real exciting racing. Now we're number 2. There's about a tenth of a second between the 3 of us, but we're going to give it our best shot in the next qualifying run. We've got to run a career best to go number 1, but we're going to try that.
Well, here we are then. Final round, ladies and gentlemen. The FIA Top Methanol Dragster Championship here at Santopod in England. I'm still a little bit sad that there's only 3 of them have turned up here, but what close racing.
All of them are absolutely world class. There's hardly anything between them. I mean, they all qualify within a tenth of a second. That's actually quite slack. They're normally about a few hundredths of a second apart, which is quite amazing. But first round, Rob Turner coming out in the Netcall car in the right-hand lane, not having a bad weekend at his home track. And when we say home track, you could probably throw a stone and you could actually land it in Rob's back garden from Santopod Raceway. Seems to have been there forever. And the other lane, the German Peter Schofer, unfortunately for him, finishing number 2 in the championship before the team even loaded the car up in the trailer to come to Santa Pod, but they still, as everybody does, want to go out on a high this weekend, John.
Well, here we are then, these top methanol dragsters, the smaller brother, if you like, to the top fuel dragsters. Not quite as long, Darrell, are they?
No, they're a bit shorter. Basically, the fuel that they use dictates that they have to have a different engine combination, different transmission. They can't really run the 300-inch wheelbases that the top fuel dragsters do, so they make them a little bit shorter, but they're built for the job, and they're still very, very stout and very, very quick machines.
Well, yeah, I mean, you've got to be thinking here that top fuel dragsters are 6,000 horsepower. These are about 3,500?
Yeah, between 3 and 3,500. A lot of that's attributed to, well, obviously the engines these days, but mainly the big supercharger you see sitting on top of the car.
Oh, they're fired up, aren't they, the Turner squad there?
As always, yeah. Rob not having a great weekend this weekend at Santa Pod, but wants to try really, really hard in this first round race. His last race with net cool on the car. So here we go. Peter Show for Germany, left-hand lane, right-hand lane. Rob Turner both the way from the starting line. A very, very close race, and Peter Chauffeur just takes it. My goodness.
That was close, a 5.57 to a 5.53.
Now, unfortunately, not the way that Rob and the team wanted to end the weekend. Going out on a whole shot, but still a near career best run. I mean, they're running right on their career best numbers every time they run the car.
Yeah, superb stuff. What a close race. This is how it's always been with these top methanol tracks or funny cars. The racing is always so very, very close. So here he is then, the champion for 2004 and 2003, of course. What a great season this man has had. More wins this year, I think, than in 2003.
Yeah, he's had a great year. I mean, there isn't a great deal left for him to do, I don't think.
Well, what he is trying to do here is look for lane choice, although at Santa Pod I never believed that lane choice is too important because the track here is so well prepared. But he is also trying to back up a new European record that he laid down during qualifying. So that's what he's attempting to do. If he gets lane choice, all the better. To get lane choice, Darrell, he's got to go quicker than the 5.57 that Peter Schurfer got.
Yeah, basically to everyone at home, what that means is the quicker ET from the previous round gets to choose the lanes. But as you said, Santa Pod is actually the fastest all-asphalt track in the world. Normally they have concrete on the starting line, but Santa Pod, it makes no difference. It's a fantastically prepared racing surface. Bit of a strong headwind this weekend, so the mile an hour has been down a bit, but it really hasn't hurt the elapsed time, as we see Dave Wilson flying down the left-hand lane. And
yeah, 5.43, that is a new European record. Well done.
Well, Dave, you had a bye run there, but you somehow took a little opportunity to take the European speed record.
Yeah, well, this weekend we've been trying to tune the car up just a little bit more than normally we would, because we won the championship already, and we want to win this race, but we're just taking a little extra risk here and there, and it surely worked that time. You know, we ran better than we've ever run before outside of the US.
Well, you can certainly get a gauge of how bad the wind is with the guy standing there chatting, can't you?
Yeah, you certainly can. And one of my favourite quotes of all time from a very famous American top fuel racer called Eddie Hill was, it got there too quick to build up any speed. So the time was still there, but the speed was a bit down. That's what's happening to everyone this weekend. But the final round of the championship, Dave Grumpy Wilson in the left-hand lane. The American Car Imports, as I always say, cast of thousands. Any more sponsors, they're going to need a bigger car. Up against the Werner car of Peter Schoaf. And the Werner event actually has happened now. It was the weekend before the European finals. Very successful and a very good promotional job by the Schoaf team. So let's see what Peter thinks about the final.
Na gut, also in England in Santa Pod im Finale zu stehen, ist immer eine tolle Sache. Super Zuschauer, nettes Publikum, und ja, das Wetter könnte ein bisschen besser sein, der Wind ist schlimm, aber es macht hier Spaß im Finale zu stehen. Und jetzt müssen wir gucken, wer der Schnellste ist.
Well, there you are. Words of wisdom there for the man who has been beaten more times by Dave Wilson in 2004. Certainly it was a lot closer in the preceding year. This year, Dave, as we said earlier on in the program, wrapped up the championship at Hockenheim. But Dave wants to go out on a high, of course, and take the win here. Peter wants to beat him away from the start line. He's about 1/10 of a second slower, so it all depends on this start line. Oh, Darrell, a red light.
Big fat red light for Peter Schoaf. Unfortunate way to end the year. Dave Wilson probably didn't know he red lit, but that's why he chased him all the way down the quarter mile, but caps off a perfect weekend for the American Car Imports team. 5:45, near record pace again.
This truly has been your season, Dave, hasn't it?
Yeah, I think it probably has. Yeah, I have to admit to it. I think we've won 4 out of 6 now, and That was a 45, which more than backs up the existing 43 we'd done earlier. We'd already backed it up anyway, but we tried to go faster, but I think the track conditions and the weather's beaten us this time.
Well, let's say this was the way to end the season, wasn't it?
Oh, absolutely. Couldn't wish for a better season, and you couldn't wish for a better end.
Well, if I tell you that in 2003 Dave only won the championship by 6 points, he's done so much better this year. Well, there you have it, the 2004 season, and boy, did we see some wonderful runs. New records in Pro Stock Car, Speed and ET, in Top Fuel Dragster, Speed and ET, and in Top Methanol Dragster, the best ET we've ever seen. It's been wonderful. More people have been coming along to watch drag racing. It's reaching more and more people as the years go by. 2005 is just a few months away. That's going to be bigger and better.